Ladies, listen carefully. If you want a relationship to flourish, there is one thing you must never do, and that is disrespect a man's efforts. I don't just mean the big gestures, the gifts, the surprises, the bold moves. I mean the small daily things he does to try to make your life easier, happier, or more comfortable. Every man has a way of showing love, and even if it seems imperfect, even if it does not meet your expectations, it is the expression of his heart, his intention. To dismiss, mock, or belittle that effort is to cut a wound deep into the soul of the relationship. Think for a moment. How does it feel when someone you care about notices your hard work and appreciation is absent? It chips away at your confidence, your willingness, and your desire to continue giving. A man may look strong, confident, even unshakable to the outside world, but inside, when his efforts are constantly dismissed, a part of him withers quietly. He doesn't always speak up. He doesn't always confront it. Often he withdraws. And a relationship does not survive on silence and withdrawal alone. Disrespect is not always loud. It can be subtle. A sigh when he offers help, a comment about how he never does enough, or a dismissive glance at something he worked hard on. You may think it is trivial. You may think he should understand your perspective, but the truth is, every person needs to feel valued. Every person needs recognition for the small acts of kindness and care they contribute. When a woman disrespects a man's efforts, she is planting seeds of resentment, seeds that may grow quietly, invisibly, until one day they become a forest that suffocates love. Instead, choose gratitude. Choose acknowledgement. Even when the gesture is imperfect, even when it does not align with your desires, honor his intention. Say, "I see that you are trying," or "Thank you. It means a lot to me." You do not need to exaggerate. You do not need to pretend, but you do need to recognize that effort is the language of love. Sometimes even when words fail, a simple acknowledgement builds trust, connection, and intimacy. It shows that you honor him as a human being, as a partner, and as a contributor to your shared life. Furthermore, disrespecting efforts creates an imbalance in the relationship. When one person's actions are constantly undervalued, the relationship becomes transactional. He may feel that nothing he does will ever be enough, and over time, he may stop trying altogether. A woman who truly wants harmony, love, and mutual respect must understand that recognition is not a favor, it is a necessity. It nurtures the bond, encourages growth, and fosters loyalty. Remember, love is not just about feelings, it is about action. Respecting his efforts is an active choice. It requires mindfulness, awareness, and sometimes patience. A man is not perfect. His efforts are not perfect, but they are real and they are significant. By respecting them, you are nurturing the roots of a lasting connection, creating a space where both of you can thrive, grow, and support each other. In essence, never disrespect a man's efforts. Never underestimate the power of acknowledgement. Never allow small frustrations to turn into patterns of disregard. Honor what he gives. Recognize his intentions. Cherish the ways he shows love, even if imperfectly. This is the first step toward a strong, enduring, and deeply fulfilling relationship. Ladies, this is one of the most critical lessons you must understand if you wish to have a relationship that thrives, grows, and sustains itself over time. Never, under any circumstance, try to control a man. I do not say this lightly. Control is one of the most destructive forces in a relationship. It is subtle, often hidden, under the guise of care, concern, or love. Yet, its consequences are profound, silently eroding trust, freedom, and mutual respect. Many women believe that controlling behavior is necessary for a man to meet expectations, to align with their desires, or to conform to their vision of how life should be. But think carefully. When you attempt to control a man, what are you really communicating? You are saying, whether consciously or unconsciously, I do not trust you to make your own choices. I do not respect your judgment. Your freedom is negotiable, and no man, no human being can thrive under such invisible chains. Control comes in many forms. It may be direct, telling him what to do, where to go, whom to meet, or how to spend his time. It may be subtle, constantly questioning, criticizing, or second-guessing his decisions. It may even be silent, withdrawing affection or approval, until he conforms to your expectations. All of these are forms of control, and all of them push a man away slowly but surely. A relationship is not a prison. It is not a competition. It is a partnership that requires mutual respect and autonomy. Imagine this. A man, strong, capable, with ambitions and dreams, is met every day with someone trying to shape him, mold him, or limit him. How does he feel inside? He feels trapped. He feels suffocated. He begins to hide parts of himself, compromise his passions, and eventually withdraw his love. This is the paradox of control. The more you attempt to secure a man through control, the more you drive him away. Freedom is not a threat, it is the foundation upon which genuine love flourishes. Control is often masked as protection. Many women justify their controlling behavior with the idea that they are helping, guiding, or looking out for him. But love is not protection through domination, love is support through trust. To truly love a man, you must trust him to make mistakes, to learn, to grow, and to chart his own course. Attempting to control him may provide temporary satisfaction or an illusion of security, but it cannot create real connection. Real connection is built on mutual respect, freedom, and understanding. Furthermore, control erodes self-confidence for both partners. When a woman tries to dictate a man's choices, she diminishes his sense of agency, making him question his judgment. Simultaneously, she undermines her own strengths, because a relationship that relies on control is inherently weak. Control is born from insecurity, fear of loss, fear of inadequacy, fear that love will disappear if the other person is free. But this fear is a trap. Fear is the enemy of love. Love flourishes when both partners feel safe, respected, and autonomous. Instead of control, cultivate influence. Influence is subtle, gentle, and powerful. Influence comes through inspiration, through communication, through trust and shared vision. You cannot force a man to love you, respect you, or grow with you, but you can inspire him by being authentic, confident, and supportive. Influence requires patience, wisdom, and restraint. Influence respects freedom while encouraging connection. Control imposes rules. Influence invites cooperation. One builds relationships, the other destroys them. Think also about the long-term consequences of control. Over time, controlling behavior breeds resentment, rebellion, and emotional distance. A man may comply superficially, but compliance is not love. Compliance is a shadow, a mask worn to avoid conflict or punishment. Real love is not about compliance. It is about choice, freedom, and mutual desire. A man who feels free to make his own decisions, who feels trusted and valued, will return to you willingly, with his heart open, rather than trapped by fear or obligation. Remember, ladies, you cannot hold someone in a relationship by force. You cannot dictate their emotions, desires, or actions. Love is not possession, it is presence. It is not domination, it is partnership. Trying to control a man is not proof of care, it is proof of insecurity. It is a statement that you do not trust him, nor do you trust yourself to maintain love without chains. Instead, focus on what you can control: your actions, your words, your energy, your integrity. Lead by example. Live with authenticity and strength. Communicate openly and honestly. Allow the man you love to express himself fully, to make mistakes, to pursue his passions, and to choose you freely. A man who chooses you every day because he wants to, not because he has no other choice, is a man whose love is genuine, deep, and lasting. Ultimately, relationships are not about control, they are about alignment. When both partners are free, respected, and encouraged to grow, they align naturally. They support one another, lift each other, and move forward together. No force is needed. No chains are necessary. Love is a garden. Control is the weed that suffocates growth. Nurture trust, respect, and freedom, and your relationship will blossom in ways you cannot imagine. Ladies, never forget this. Trying to control a man is one of the fastest ways to lose him, even if he loves you deeply. Instead, choose patience, respect, and influence. Choose freedom, choice, and partnership. Allow love to be a dance, not a battle. Allow him to be fully himself, and you will find that he comes closer, not farther away. Love thrives in freedom. Control destroys it. Ladies, there is one mistake in a relationship that can cut deeper than almost any argument, almost any disagreement, almost any betrayal. That mistake is humiliation, especially humiliation in public. If you want a man to feel loved, respected, and loyal to you, never ever put him down in front of others. Never make him the subject of ridicule, sarcasm, or criticism when others are watching. Humiliation is not just a momentary wound. It is a scar that echoes in the heart and mind far longer than any mistake he might make. Think carefully about what happens when a person is humiliated in public. The embarrassment, the shame, the sense of exposure, they are not fleeting feelings. They sink deep. They speak to the very core of a person's dignity. Every man wants to feel that he is seen, respected, and honored by the woman he loves. When a woman humiliates him, she strips away that sense of safety and esteem, replacing it with fear, resentment, and doubt. The result is not love. It is distance, it is withdrawal. It is a quiet erosion of connection that may never fully heal. Public humiliation comes in many forms. It might be laughing at him in front of friends when he makes a mistake. It might be mocking his opinions, ideas, or choices while others are present. It might even be subtle, rolling your eyes, making sarcastic comments, or sharing private details that embarrass him. No matter the form, the effect is the same. It communicates disrespect, and respect is one of the pillars of a healthy relationship. Without it, the relationship cannot stand. Consider this: men are social beings. They are aware of how they are perceived, not out of vanity, but out of a natural desire to belong, to feel competent, and to feel trusted. When a woman humiliates a man in public, she attacks that sense of belonging. She undermines his confidence, his social standing, and often his sense of identity. Even if he does not react outwardly, even if he laughs along, a part of him retreats. He becomes guarded, he becomes cautious, he becomes distant. And distance is the opposite of intimacy. Ladies, let me be clear. Respect is not conditional. It is not something that is earned only when he is perfect or behaves exactly as you want. It is a choice you make, a standard you uphold, regardless of circumstances. You can correct, guide, or express dissatisfaction privately, but never at the cost of his dignity. Private conversations build understanding. Public humiliation destroys it. The wise woman understands that love is strengthened through compassion and tact, not through shame or spectacle. Humiliation does more than hurt him. It also affects the dynamics of your relationship. A man who fears being shamed will become defensive. He may stop sharing his thoughts, dreams, and vulnerabilities. He may stop trying new things, taking risks, or expressing love openly. A relationship thrives on openness, honesty, and emotional presence. When humiliation enters the equation, it suffocates these qualities. You may have what looks like compliance or cooperation, but the love beneath it is weakened, fragile, and hesitant. Furthermore, humiliation damages trust. Trust is the invisible thread that connects two hearts. Every time a man feels ridiculed or belittled in public, that thread frays. He begins to wonder if he can truly be himself with you. He begins to question whether he can make mistakes without facing ridicule. And when trust is fractured, love struggles to survive. A relationship without trust may continue outwardly, but it is hollow at its core. Instead of humiliation, cultivate encouragement, celebrate his efforts, even when imperfect. Offer guidance privately. Speak words that uplift, inspire, and build confidence. Correct with kindness, not contempt. Share your perspective with compassion, not judgment. A man who feels respected will rise to meet the expectations placed upon him. A man who feels humiliated will retreat into himself. The choice ultimately is yours. Your words carry power. Use them to nurture, not to wound. Consider the long-term consequences of public humiliation. Over time, it creates resentment that grows silently. A man may begin to compare himself to others, to feel inadequate, to question his worth. He may still love you, but he may also distance himself emotionally, protectively, and silently. The bond that could have grown into mutual admiration, loyalty, and deep connection becomes strained. Love cannot flourish where humiliation is present. Respect is the water that allows it to grow. Ladies, always remember, the strongest relationships are built on dignity, not dominance, on trust, not fear, on encouragement, not shame. To humiliate a man publicly is to strike at the very foundation of his sense of self and to jeopardize the love he feels for you. A woman who wishes to create a lasting, loving connection must choose her words carefully, her actions thoughtfully, and her moments wisely. Love is an art, not a weapon. Finally, understand that respect and love are inseparable. By never humiliating him, you honor both the man and the relationship. You create a safe space where he can be fully himself, where he can express vulnerability without fear, and where he can grow alongside you. You cultivate a bond that is unshakable, rooted in mutual admiration, compassion, and care. Humiliation may bring a fleeting sense of control or superiority, but it destroys far more than it creates. Choose empowerment over embarrassment. Choose kindness over cruelty. Choose love over the temporary satisfaction of belittling. When you honor his dignity, you honor your relationship. And that, ladies, is the pathway to a love that lasts, deepens, and transcends the ordinary. Ladies, listen carefully, for this is the truth that will determine the strength and longevity of your relationship. Never ever undermine a man's authority or decisions, whether it is in private conversations, in front of friends, or even in your own mind. Questioning, dismissing, or belittling his choices can be far more damaging than you might realize. Authority and decision-making are not merely about control. They are reflections of a man's confidence, responsibility, and place in the relationship. To undermine them is to chip away at the foundation of respect, trust, and harmony. Every man has a role in a relationship, a responsibility to lead in ways that align with his abilities, his principles, and his love. Leadership in a relationship does not mean domination or absolute power. It means taking responsibility, making choices, and guiding with care. When a woman constantly questions or dismisses those choices, she signals a lack of trust, a lack of faith, and ultimately a lack of respect. No man wants to feel that every decision he makes is invalid, irrelevant, or open for debate without consideration. Undermining a man's authority is subtle. It can be disguised as helpful advice, constructive criticism, or even concern. Yet, the effect is the same. It diminishes his sense of confidence, his willingness to lead, and his sense of competence. Over time, a pattern of undermining creates frustration, resentment, and distance. The man may begin to withdraw emotionally, retreating into silence rather than sharing his thoughts and feelings. He may stop making decisions, allowing the relationship to stagnate because he fears criticism at every turn. Consider this. A man wants to feel that his contributions matter, that his guidance is valued, and that his judgment is trusted. When you question every choice, dismiss every suggestion, or openly contradict him, you signal that you do not believe in his capability. Even if your intentions are good, even if you truly want what is best, undermining communicates doubt. And doubt in a relationship is poisonous. Love requires faith, faith in his heart, in his choices, and in the bond you share. Furthermore, undermining his authority often affects how he perceives himself in the outside world. A man who feels constantly second-guessed or diminished may begin to doubt his worth, both to you and to others. Confidence, once shaken, is not easily rebuilt, and a man who doubts himself may struggle to provide support, protection, and leadership, the very things that form the pillars of a healthy, balanced relationship. Authority is not about ego. It is about responsibility, decision-making, and reliability. Undermining it weakens the core of the relationship. Private conversations are sacred. This is where influence can happen constructively. If you disagree with a decision, approach it with respect, curiosity, and dialogue. Ask questions instead of giving commands. Suggest alternatives instead of dismissing his choices. Speak from your perspective. I feel concerned about this approach because, rather than "you're wrong, this will never work." Language is powerful. Words either build or destroy. Choose them wisely. The difference between undermining and constructive guidance is simple: respect. When you respect his authority, you allow him to lead while still having an equal voice. You collaborate rather than dictate. You influence rather than overpower. A man who feels respected in his role is more likely to consider your perspective, engage in meaningful dialogue, and grow alongside you. Undermining, on the other hand, fosters resistance, tension, and emotional distance. Think about long-term consequences. A man who is repeatedly undermined may eventually disengage. He may stop making decisions to avoid conflict. He may stop sharing his thoughts to avoid judgment. He may even question the relationship itself, feeling that his role is neither appreciated nor valued. In contrast, a relationship rooted in mutual respect and trust allows both partners to thrive. When his authority is honored, he feels empowered. When you honor his decisions, even imperfect ones, you foster a climate of collaboration, love, and partnership. Ladies, remember this: your role in a relationship is not to dominate, control, or diminish. Your role is to support, inspire, and uplift. Respecting his authority does not mean you surrender your voice. It does not mean you accept everything without question. It means you choose your words, your tone, and your actions carefully. It means guiding with empathy and influence, rather than criticism and doubt. Leadership in a relationship works best when it is supported by love, trust, and mutual respect, not undermined by skepticism or ridicule. Never forget that undermining is often subtle, and women may not even realize the impact of their words. A passing remark, a sarcastic comment, or a casual dismissal can have deep effects. Over time, these small actions accumulate, creating cracks in the foundation of love and trust. A man may continue to love you, but his enthusiasm, engagement, and willingness to share his heart will be diminished. Respect once lost is difficult to restore. Instead, focus on collaboration. Show that you trust his judgment. Encourage him to lead in areas where he excels. Offer advice only when requested or when framed respectfully. A man who feels valued in his decision-making role will naturally invest more in the relationship, care more deeply, and commit more fully. He will not feel the need to prove himself constantly, because he already knows he is trusted, respected, and loved. In essence, ladies, never undermine a man's authority or decisions. Respect the responsibility he carries, honor the efforts he makes, and communicate differences with tact, not derision. Influence through dialogue, inspire through example, and collaborate through trust. These are the hallmarks of a relationship built to endure. Love is not about overpowering, it is about empowering. Authority is not about control, it is about responsibility. When both partners honor these principles, the relationship becomes a sanctuary of respect, love, and shared growth. Ladies, there is a silent danger in many relationships, a danger that often goes unnoticed until it is too late. The danger is using the relationship itself as a tool, as a weapon, or as leverage to get what you want. Threatening the relationship, saying, "If you do this, I will leave," or "If you don't, we are over," is one of the most destructive behaviors you can engage in. It is subtle, it can feel justified in the moment, but it corrodes trust, erodes emotional safety, and weakens the foundation of love in ways that are not easily repaired. Every relationship depends on a sense of security. Both partners must feel safe, safe to express themselves, safe to make mistakes, safe to grow, and safe to love freely. When a woman threatens the relationship to get attention, compliance, or validation, she undermines that safety. She creates an environment of fear rather than love. A man who experiences this regularly begins to question the stability of the bond. He wonders if his choices are ever enough, if love is conditional, if commitment is something that can be manipulated. And when love feels conditional, it becomes fragile, tentative, and cautious. Threatening the relationship is often framed as passion, intensity, or assertiveness. Some may think it is a way to demand respect or attention. But let me clarify, respect and love cannot be forced. They cannot be coerced through fear. A man who feels compelled to act because of threats is not acting out of love. He is acting out of obligation or self-preservation. And a relationship based on obligation, fear, or coercion will never flourish. It will never deepen. It will never create the trust and intimacy that true love requires. Consider the long-term consequences. Every threat chips away at trust. Every ultimatum builds resentment. A man may comply in the short term, but inwardly he feels frustration, disappointment, and distance. Over time, these feelings grow silently, invisibly, like cracks forming in a foundation. Eventually, the relationship becomes fragile, ready to collapse under even small pressures. And when it does collapse, it is not because love was absent. It is because fear replaced trust, manipulation replaced communication, and threats replaced respect. Threatening the relationship also undermines the woman's own strength. True strength in love is not about leverage or coercion. True strength is patience, wisdom, understanding, and calm confidence. Using threats is a sign of insecurity, a signal that you feel powerless in the relationship and believe that control can be obtained through fear. But power obtained through fear is temporary. Love built on fear is shallow, and when the fear fades, so does the bond. Instead of threats, cultivate influence through presence, understanding, and authenticity. Express your feelings openly, without using the relationship as a weapon. Share your needs, desires, and concerns calmly and clearly. Communicate what matters to you, but do so without implying that the relationship itself is conditional or a bargaining chip. Influence comes from alignment, example, and emotional intelligence. Threats come from insecurity, impatience, and the need for control. One builds relationships, the other destroys them. It is also important to distinguish between expressing boundaries and issuing threats. A boundary is a statement of your needs and limits. I cannot tolerate dishonesty. I need transparency in this relationship. A threat is conditional and manipulative. If you lie again, I will leave you. The first communicates self-respect and encourages dialogue. The second communicates fear and imposes pressure. Relationships thrive on boundaries, not threats. Boundaries invite growth. Threats invite rebellion or withdrawal. Many women may feel justified in using threats when they feel ignored, undervalued, or frustrated. It may feel like the only way to make a man understand the seriousness of the issue. But consider this carefully. If a man truly loves you, he does not need threats to motivate him. He responds to respect, care, and communication. Threats may force action in the moment, but they do not create genuine understanding or lasting change. True influence comes from trust and mutual commitment, not fear of loss. Moreover, threatening the relationship can create emotional instability. Love is meant to be a sanctuary, a safe place where both partners can grow, express vulnerability, and support one another. When threats enter the picture, the sanctuary becomes a battlefield. One partner is constantly guarding against losing the other. Anxiety replaces calm, cooperation is replaced by tension, and in such an environment, love cannot flourish, it suffocates. Instead, practice patience, empathy, and wisdom. Speak from your heart, not from fear. Share your feelings without attaching them to ultimatums. Allow the man to respond with his own perspective, to participate in dialogue, and to act from understanding rather than fear. A relationship where both partners feel safe to express themselves, make mistakes, and grow together is unshakable. Love grows naturally when it is nurtured by trust, not threatened by manipulation. Ladies, never forget this. A relationship is not a tool to be wielded, it is not a weapon to be used, it is a sacred bond built on trust, respect, and love. Threatening it may provide temporary control, but it destroys what matters most: connection, intimacy, and loyalty. When a woman stops using fear as a tool and starts using trust, communication, and respect, she empowers the relationship, she nurtures a bond that grows stronger with every challenge, every disagreement, and every shared joy. Finally, understand that love given freely is far more powerful than love extracted through threats. A man who chooses to stay, to give, and to love because he feels understood, trusted, and respected will offer far more than a man who stays out of fear. Threats may gain attention temporarily, but they never gain devotion. They never build legacy. They never create the deep, abiding connection that lasts a lifetime. So ladies, commit to this truth. Never threaten the relationship as a tool. Speak with honesty, act with patience, and love with confidence. Respect the bond, honor the trust, and cultivate influence through understanding, not fear. A relationship nurtured this way is unshakable, lasting, and profoundly fulfilling. Love is not a battlefield, it is a garden. Threats are weeds. Care, communication, and respect are water. Tend your garden wisely, and it will flourish beyond imagination.